World Cup after they disappointed us in the AFCON qualification. We really appreciate that. It has given a lot of Ghanaians hope in the sense that most of them are preparing. Either they will get visas or not, they are preparing and they have their mind on traveling. For that matter, it's a different thing altogether. But for the Black Stars, giving the people such a hope, trust me, it's a very big deal. And you guys have done well. We wish that next year coming, we will see more programs that would be inspired and more issues that people are afraid to talk about. Right. You guys are going to handle it, and then we are backing you. We are behind you. Trust me. Whenever you guys come and sit behind the console, remember that we are here. We are listening to you, and we are supporting everything that you guys are doing, especially you yourself. Problem issues that people are afraid to tackle. You deal with it. You deal with it with your segment of problem. That is good. There are always such situations. People that can be bold enough and then address issues that people are afraid of, where we can all see it clearly, but they are afraid of. Just like yesterday. Please let me take a bit of the time again. I wanted to call, but I left the car and went somewhere, so I couldn't listen to radio. You see, Sharaf is doing good, but trust me, he has to try and focus on the talent. What I see is he's truly building his brand, taking advantage, as you said, taking advantage of a loose system, and he's building his brand. See, after he's done this like 3-4 times, you hear him promoting a big match outside. You can mark it somewhere. You see that the guy will be promoting big match somewhere outside the country because he has built a foundation and he has gotten the landmark that he's looking for people to know. But when you go to the background, the boxers are not benefiting anything at all. They are not getting help to develop properly to become proper professional boxers. Even the amateur crowd, the way they go through it is bad. So we played with him. I mean, he's a young man, but trust me, based on what he's doing, we can only plead with him that he broaden his horizon and then get to the bottom of it. You should get to the boys and try to get them good management that it can help them develop their talent so that the country can get world titles again. Merry Christmas to my fellow callers.
Many happy returns, Anobil, and a big thank you to you for staying with us all year round. And hopefully, we promise to deliver bigger and better for you in 2026. Thank you very much for joining us. Give us a call 0542571061. The Africa Cup of Nations Championship is currently ongoing in Morocco. Yesterday we saw some interesting games. Nigeria were in action yesterday. They won their game. Tunisia also won their game. Senegal also swept aside Botswana in grand style. And DRC won a game, not without controversy, because yesterday, interestingly, the referee went to the screen to check the VR for a review. Unfortunately, the system did not work. Welcome to African football. Good morning to you. Your name and your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, Raymond. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I used to call from Ajayeva to Tema.
Okay. Well, what's happening in Tema today?
You need a first word until you check your day.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's nice. That's nice.
Okay. In fact, no, my Juma. I say, radio stations no more no sports no. My more hours. By a moment, the more cover sports no. Fancy football. Now, me sure I'm a one Ghana football. We share the way your football no acquire. Enko yi na me say journalists ni bebre na me hu say I saw mo na fofo e wo efe hontino me observation na ma hu no I saw mo na fofo efe hontino no mu shia enyama critical questions say say go mu bisa na mu bisa e ma yen na yen so yen opportunity na yen listeners ni adan ye bisa on sa questions no also hwe bia under 17 under 20 under 23 since Athens 204 Ghana Olympics under 23 tournament yanko bita. Imagine say you tina participate yanka some praise enya foreign contractor omo chika sama akoyama ibia koso mabuso ni bia o take bia sama will be able to understand almost through him. But I think tournament themselves organizing 4 years. Young could be under 17 and my a progressive under 20 my players are called Blaster and solid base. You to qualify. It's an Ontario. We have some superstars overnight. Go through process. And so you're finding acquire Blaster for combo. And you know, I'm the FNO almost higher, but journalists for now the way I'm no when I destroy life. And that make you say Ghana tournament AFCON ye bobia. Has now medium pay a bit more pure. Imagine say for sure the better man. Now you bought AFCON Ghana new tournament at 2014. 18 for watch out. Ye coaching no ne more enkasama why for my show. Raymond.
All right. Mr. Medasi for joining us on the show this morning. Well, just give us a call and feel free to speak whatever language you want to speak. I'll translate. Kevin is also here. We'll translate it. So he says he's not happy. He's not happy with the state of our football. He's not happy at all. We should be doing better than we are doing. And he added a few other issues. I'll get into all of that in a bit after this call. Good morning to your name and where you're calling us from. Okay, so he basically said that, look, we have to build the house properly. The foundation is clearly weak. Under 17, under 20, we are struggling to even qualify for the Olympic men's football competitions and all. And we are not in a good place, and he's clearly not happy with the state of our game. Hello, good morning to your name and where are you calling us from?
Gallery from Downtown.
Gallery, let's hear you.
Yeah, I'm saying my Sporty FM has been doing well since their operation, and then also at first I used to listen to Fox Sports in UK, but because of Sporty FM, I stopped listening to Fox Sports. Yeah, so Sports 24 hours. The noise is too. Hello.
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, the noise is too much in the morning in Ghana. The police are too much. They'll be making noise, MPP, NBC, Charlie. But Sporty Bet, I've stopped listening to those stuff because of Sporty Bet. Because the noise is too much. And then I think for the AFCON, local are doing well. Their pitches, they are top notch. And then Jackson, everywhere you share, sake of, you see Senegal playing, he get 10 chances, he scored 2.
Yeah.
Same old Jackson.
No, but the team know very well they should have scored more in that game. So I think they'll work on their finishing.
Even Ghana game was complaining that they should have scored more goals, but because Jackson was squandering all the chances, they only scored 3. Charlie Jackson, if you can't play this with game.
Sporty FM.
Right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time on the show this morning. We are grateful for your call. Good morning to you. Your name and where you are calling us from?
Yeah, Mr. Raymond, Nyamador.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Charles. I'm calling from my trauma.
Charles, what do you have for us this morning?
First of all, the Mercy National Advance and passing. You guys have done a good job. And it's been awesome listening to you for every morning. So, good job and the Mercy National Advance.
Many happy returns, my brother.
So, I'm very happy for him. I'm happy he chose I think it's a step in the right direction. He wins trophies to play championship football. So, yeah, it's a good move. I've heard some people say he might be benched. No.
This is Sporty FM, the voice of sports.
If you look at the quality going to season, I don't think he will be benched at all. And I actually think to improve. And it's very honest here, Raymond. The person I think will be the happiest from this deal is Utuado. Yes, Utuado, because Antoine Semenyo will learn a lot from Pep and when teach Utuado at Black Stars camp. So person who will benefit the most from this deal is Otuadi. But Antonio is going to improve, and the Pep is a great manager for all time. He's going to learn a lot under Pep to improve his play. I actually think that there's more to Antonio than playing on the left or on the right. He could play as a Pep. I actually believe that he could play as a Pep. So let's see how Pep will use him to benefit the Black Stars. I also want to talk about the AFCON so far. Big matches. I've watched all the games so far, and anytime I'm watching, it's just like Ghana national game. I mean, as football fans, we continue to enjoy the game. Enjoy the pride of Africa, which is AFCON. So far, so good, and we can only hope for the best moving forward. Enjoy your day, and once again, Merry Christmas.
Right. Enjoy your day too, and a Merry Christmas to you too. I'll pick my final call, 0542571061, and then we'll get straight into the discussion. There's a lot we'll be talking about this morning. We'll be talking about Antoine Semenyo and his potential move to Manchester City. And of course, the Africa Cup of Nations, yesterday's results. We'll run the rule over everything that happened yesterday. And then we'll preview today's games. We'll check out which teams will be playing today and what to expect from all the games we'll be watching today. The defending champions like Côte d'Ivoire, with their star-studded squad, will be in action later today. And Cameroon, with all their off-the-field issues, will be in action today. David Pagu is the man in charge of the Cameroonian national team, and he's the man to lead them into tonight's game. It's not going to be Mark Bryce, and so all the controversy has been put to bed, and so we'll get into all of that on the show this morning. Yesterday, DRC won their game, but VAR did not work yesterday as a referee, decided to go to the pitch side screen to review a decision he had made. So all of that has gone on, and yesterday, I'm sure Zambia would feel hard done. It was Kevin. Help me with this one. It was DRC versus Zambia, right?
No, it was against Benin.
Benin, yeah. Yeah, so it was against Benin. That's right. It was against Benin, and Benin would feel they
feel hard done by.
Yeah.
I think it was quite disappointing to see what happened. On any case, and you see the South African referee. I've forgotten his name. You tried to get it for me.
Yeah,
he was waiting for the VAR to be ready so that he could make that decision. He could make that call. He was willing and very much ready to make that call, but the failure in technology, and I think that these things cannot be happening, on any day. That was a handball from Chancellor Mbemba.
Yeah.
And the South African referee was, you could clearly see that he was a bit disturbed with what was happening. It's quite unfortunate that some of these things may, take away, the good start and then the smooth sail of the tournament. Already people are having issues. They think that, fans are not attending the games, at certain points in time, and the capacity that was had in, the other games, it hasn't been the same thing that has been seen from the Morocco matches. But yesterday, I just feel that they should have properly worked on this to at least give a very good account of whatever happened. There should have been a penalty. I don't understand why that penalty decision, couldn't stand.
So I think that once the on-field decision was not a penalty, the referee definitely was going to need help.
Yes.
Centerman was going to need help. He was going to require help. But if you follow the conversation, so the VAR official, Figueroa Vasquez, did not alert the referee to go check the monitor. Okay.
Yes.
Now, for whatever reason, we may not know.
But the referee moved to the monitor.
Yeah, so, but, normally, the referees get the communication to go and check.
Yeah.
But according to reports, Vasquez did not notify the centerman to go and check. Maybe Vasquez knew the challenge with the machine. Okay, maybe Vasquez was aware of the blackout, the VAR blackout, and so he did not prompt him to go. So once he didn't take the on-field decision to award the penalty, and VAR also did not help him. It was going to be more of we playing that game without a VAR. I think that Benin would feel hard done, yes, but sometimes, Kelvin, that is technology for you.
That's technology for you, but I think that these things are inevitable. These glitches, and I think from the start of the tournament, and it wasn't a venue that wasn't prepared. It's not like you are playing in a League 2 venue or a League 1 venue or even a Championship venue where you say that there are hitches and lapses in there. This was a major tournament that is being broadcasted in HD quality, 4K HD quality. I think that it should have come better. It's quite disappointing because you could clearly see the frustration from the referee.
Yeah.
How is it that this system is not working? The VAR is not working for me to make such a crucial decision. If Benin had gotten that penalty, they would have equalized. It would have been 1-0.
Yeah.
And they could have probably ended the game with a point or even edged them to go for the win against the DRC, because the DRC that we saw against Nigeria and then Cameroon at the playoffs wasn't the same DRC that we saw. I'm sure Sebastian Desabre knows that is, a poor version or a grade C version of his team, the grade A that we know. So it's quite unfortunate. They're hard done by, but I just hope that it will not continue and the lapses in there, all those lapses will be resolved, because you cannot affect teams. Imagine if the VAR had to work for other nations, and then it's not working for Benin. At the end of the day, let's not forget the fine margins do count.
Oh, of course.
And that could be a fine margin that probably would help them to even qualify out of the group stages if things don't go well.
No, because with a point in your first game, it puts you in a good stead. Then when you can even play 3 draws, get 3 points, and qualify. So now, what if they end up getting just 2 points and they will not be able to progress to the next stage of the competition? It's quite unfortunate. We understand technology is technology, but these lapses are unpardonable. Well, that's I remember when we were growing up, we always told no machine is 100% efficient, right? Yeah. So one of those days. But we'll see how they put things together to get that sorted out. But let's go to Morocco. Because I'm joined by Michael Asarigwedu. Michael, good morning to you and welcome to Sporty Breakfast. Michael, can you hear me?
It's Sporty FM, the voice of sport.
Okay, I think Michael is muted. Michael, kindly unmute yourself. And Yvonne, good morning to you and welcome to Sporty Breakfast.
Good morning, Raymond. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Cold as always.
Oh, come on. I see you all, decked out in your warmers. I see you decked out in your warmers. You and Michael.
Yeah. Yes, but the rains will stop falling.
Exactly.
The stadium, we are drenched in the rain, trying to give listeners and viewers the best coverage of the African Cup of Nations.
We love that. But you people said you don't want AFCON to be played in the summer, so enjoy your winter.
Winter isn't bad. It's Christmas coming soon, so we're happy.
Michael, good morning to you and welcome to Sporty Breakfast.
All right, so good morning, Raymond, and thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
It's actually very cold. It's been a wet morning in Perth. I just had to rush to a tea shop to get myself some warm tea. It's been very, very wet. The showers just started pouring. I think right from 5 a.m. I just had to cook, and then I decided to rush out and grab some tea. I think that is doing me some good. But aside that, I'm all good.
Right. Let's get into a bit of what happened yesterday, and let's start from VAR controversy. Yesterday, in the game between DR Congo and Benin, Chancel Mbemba handled the ball. It was clear and obvious. Referee did not spot that infringement. Required help from the VAR, but unfortunately, when he went to the pitch side monitor, it was not working. What has CAF said about the VAR glitch, or what have you heard? What have you picked up? What's been the reaction from the losers of that game, Benin? What's actually going on with regard to that VAR glitch that happened yesterday?
I think as at the time they were playing that game, I was on a train from Rabat to Fez, and it kind of generated some kind of conversations because there were some Nigerian guys also in the train and some Cameroonian guys as well, and they were discussing it.
But generally, these things do happen, even at major tournaments where the technology malfunctions and it fails to deliver a certain decision and it goes against a team. And I think that is what's happened in the game between DR Congo and Benin. Benin will feel very hard done by, but clearly it is part of the game. Once you accept to be part of it, you know that some of these things is very much possible. And I think we are witnessing this because a lot of these venues are untested as regards playing a game of this magnitude and then testing the technology. A lot of them are untested. For instance, when I came to First yesterday, aside the stadium, I went to the fan zone, and clearly you could see it was a new structure they had put up, a large space, and they weren't even done with the work they were supposed to do. And there were places that were muddy, there were places that were so green that had not been tapped into. And even with the works that were supposed to be done to ready the fan zone, you could clearly tell that they were not done yet. So, yep, I believe that, yes, Morocco has set up wonderful infrastructure, but most of these facilities are not tested enough. And I think it is similar to the venues that were used for the DR Congo Benin encounter. And so they did not test out these things, and it kind of affected the ground. But I think it's part of the game. DR Congo will feel lucky, just as Chancellor and member said, but for Benin, they will feel hard done by. But football has a way of balancing out the act. If it goes against you today, there will definitely be a moment where you will start to profit from such an instance. And hard luck to them, but maybe they will be at least compensated going forward. It could affect them in the competition game, but football has a way of balancing the act.
Right. Let me pick Yvonne's thoughts. I'm sure Yvonne was possibly watching it from another angle. Yvonne, quick thoughts on the VAR glitch DRC Benin game suffered yesterday.
Okay, so yesterday we'll focus on the Nigeria versus Tanzania game. You know our relationship with Nigeria. Once Ghana is not in the African Cup of Nations, we're definitely going to focus on Nigeria. But all I can say about the VAR malfunctioning in that DR Congo versus Benin game is that it's great that is happening at the start of the competition and not when the stakes are higher in the middle or later in the competition. And so I believe that CAF and the organizing committee, noticing and being aware of the situation early in the competition, will be able to rectify it so that we don't have any of these issues coming up in subsequent games. But hard luck to Benin. They are a good side. Hopefully in their next game, they're able to make the best and the most out of it to get a 3 point to stay in the competition.
Now let's get into yesterday's games and run the rule over everything that happened yesterday. Michael, let me start with you. The game between DRC and Benin, obviously, it was a game that many of us expected would live up to expectation, especially because of their performance in Cup qualifiers. Now, we saw Benin put up a good fight up until the last round of games in the World Cup qualifiers, and we saw DRC actually go to the playoff and pick that playoff spot to play in the Interconfederation final. Now, for many, they didn't see the DRC we saw in the playoffs. What didn't happen or what didn't go right for DRC in their game against Benin yesterday? And how come Benin didn't put up the impressive performances we saw them put up in the qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers against DRC yesterday? I mean, what kind of game did we watch? And where did things not really sit pretty for both teams?
I think the AFCON tournament happened. It is different when you are playing in a tournament like the AFCON. And when you compare that to the World Cup qualifiers or the AFCON qualifiers, I think the tournament breeze kind of like it's different. The vibes around the main tournament is different from the qualifiers. That's what I want to mean. And what happens in most of the first games or the opening games of these countries is that they are mostly a bit nervous. They are under some kind of pressure and they struggle to play according to their normal rhythm. Now, after game one, they settle in and then they're able to do a job. And I think it will be like that with DRC. They were playing against Benin. Benin also wanted to start the competition very, very well. And it is not like they are inexperienced. We saw how far they went. At a point in time, they were in the picture in terms of qualifying from their World Cup group as one of the best second place teams until they met Nigeria and things did not really go well for them. So they are not just anybody's mincemeat. You will need to play about yourself to get a result against them. And the tournament vibes clearly points towards that fact. And I think that is what happened. But DR Congo showcased one thing that Benin perhaps might lack, a deep squad. And then they had a coach who also understands how to work with them. Sebastien Migne clearly has been, Sebastien Desabre has worked with this team consistently. They were at the last AFCON where they made it to the semi-final stage, and then they've come here trying to go a step better. So that kind of understanding, the chemistry does exist. So even on a day where they are not at their best, they're able to draw up some performance that will deliver a result for them. And I think they also got lucky. At times, you need this to get results in tournaments of this nature. And it is normal because even with the Moroccans, even after winning their first game, they are not so excited about how they played against Comoros. And they feel if they meet any of the established African teams, then they will suffer. I've heard a lot of Moroccans talk about the fact that they're not happy with the strategy being deployed by Walid Regragui. So it is normal for teams on their opening day. Nigeria won, but it wasn't that vintage performance you expect from the Super Green Eagles. Senegal perhaps might be the pick of the cherry. They will look a bit different from the others. But I think opening day games are very nervy. You will need to play a bit about yourself. You need to grind results. It happened to Egypt, it's happened to Morocco, it has happened to a lot of these established countries. So it is not unusual that it's happening to DRC. I expect them to get better after day one. And then hopefully in their subsequent games, they will deliver a more solid performance.
Now, Michael, for Benin, is this the end of the road for them? Because there's Senegal in that group, there's Botswana, who they may possibly beat, but how far do you see them go in this competition and in this group?
I think they can take consolation from the fact that they were not that bad, but for a technology malfunction, they would have perhaps end the point in the game against DRC. That should give them enough confidence. Yes, there is Senegal to play, but also there is a Botswana to face. And Botswana looks like the whipping boys in that group. I saw them against Senegal, and they are not ready. I know the AFCON has surprise elements in there, but I don't think Botswana is ready for the kind of level I'm seeing so far in this competition. So, yes, Benin, if they're able to get a win against Botswana, they will be in the position, or they will be in the picture in terms of qualifying as one of the best third place teams. Don't forget, it's a 2014 tournament, and aside the top two teams from each group, there will also be a selection of some of the best third place teams, and they still have a chance. So they can take consolation from the fact that they did put up a performance that was enough to get them something in this game. Technology so far, they did not get it. Then they need to improve in their subsequent games. Maybe they do a bit of a damage control against Senegal, because definitely I think Senegal are going to beat them. But in the game against Botswana, they need to do their best, try and get maximum points. Then it should be enough if their goal differential is positive. Then it helps them to qualify as one of the best third place teams. So it is not the end of the road yet for Benin. And in Ghana Shaw, he's very experienced. He's been with Nigeria, even with the Benin national side. He's actually done a good job. I think they will be able to inspire his boys, and then they will be able to put behind them yesterday's result and then focus on what is ahead of them. I sure do think Benin has what it takes to defeat Botswana in the group.
Right. Let me bring in Yvonne. And Yvonne kept an eye on the game between Tanzania and Nigeria. The Super Eagles came into this competition definitely hoping that they will do better than their second place finish in the last edition. Now, they started off the competition against Tanzania. They won that game by 2-1 yesterday. Ajayi scored first. Osimhen scored a goal that was ruled out. Tanzania came back into the game, but Ademola Lookman ensured that Nigeria won that game by 2-1. Now, Yvonne, quick thoughts on on that game. The Nigerians were not vintage, but they will take 3 points all day. Do they look like a team that could do better than they did in last 2 years competition? Do they look like that team that many countries should be worried about based on what you saw in their first game?
Just like what Michael said, let me reiterate that it is early, very early in the competition, and so a number of teams are very nervy. And we should also take into consideration the weather conditions. It's not just cold and windy; it is rainy at the match venues. Also, because it is evening. The Kelvin also mentioned something about attendance at the stadium. What I see on the ground is a number of Moroccans wanting to come in the stadium. But the interesting part is I don't know whether they can't get tickets or they don't want to get tickets, because we saw that there was an open gate in one of the games, and a number of people were in the pitch. A number of people were also expecting that would also happen in the game between Nigeria and Tanzania. When we entered the stadium complex, the Sportif, not a lot of action happened. But when we look at the stats, we saw that Nigeria recorded 13 shots. So Nigeria, as we expected, were the better side in that game. But I feel like they didn't put up the best performance, and I already explained what the factors could be. Speaking of the assumption, aspiration that they could, speaking of the assumption or the aspiration that they may have in this competition, that they would do better than they did in the previous African Cup of Nations, I believe that's a reach. We've seen better sides. Senegal, I think Egypt is poised to do exploit. We also have Morocco and the defending champions. I do not think that Nigeria is one of the teams that could win the African Cup of Nations this time around, and I see that emphatically. And it's just not about the football we saw yesterday. It's about the issues surrounding Nigeria and how the other teams have also performed, and just how they have approached this competition from the World Cup qualifiers to what we are seeing now in the African Cup of Nations in Morocco.
Now looking at the Nigerian team, where do you think their strength is, that Nigerian team? Where do they look dangerous on the field of play?
Osimhen is the danger. If the Nigerians are able to get the crosses across to him, he would be able to get a number of headers. So for me, it's the forward line, and it's Osimhen, their talisman. If Nigeria loses somehow Osimhen to injury or to suspension, then that would be it for them. Lukman is great. Ajayi is a little older, but Osimhen is their talisman. Osimhen is where the danger is for Nigeria, and it's not surprising that a number of people expected him to win yesterday. We spoke to a number of fans. They were predicting that Osimhen was going to score a hat-trick. Like you mentioned, his goal was ruled out for offside, but there were a number of chances that he could have gotten the ball into the net, but it is what it is. Maybe in the next game, we'll see Osimhen turn up.
Now, post-game, I'm sure you monitor the reaction of Eric Shell, the coach of Nigeria. What did he have to say after that nerve-wracking game against Tanzania?
Okay, so my colleague Efsing was at the mixed zone, and he spoke to the players and the coach. But I was with the fans, and we had to leave early because the rain was crazy. There was only shelter at where the media stand was, so a number of people had to leave early, right before the 90th minute on the clock. We had to leave because the temperatures were really cold, and a number of us were beginning to get sick.
Right. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Thank you very much, Yvonne, for sharing your thoughts with us on that. But let me bring in Michael. Michael, I'm sure you followed the Super Eagles game. I mean, it was one of those games. Ademola Lookman responded quickly 2 minutes after. Just 2 minutes after Tanzania equalized. What kind of Nigerian team did we see yesterday? And what didn't work for them, or what worked for them? And where do they look more like a threat on the field of play, going forward or playing in defense or in the middle of the park? What is Nigeria's biggest threat?
Definitely, I think the danger in this Nigerian team has to do with the attack. Victor Osimhen as the leader, but also the other attackers complementing him. I think Samuel Chukwueze, Ademola Lookman, and Akor Adams. Yesterday, it looked like they were ready for action. And clearly, the strength of Nigeria is in the qualities the attackers do possess. Adams is on fantastic form at Sadia. Chukwueze, before the AFCON started, had started to come to terms with what life at Fulham was about, and he was doing very well. For Ademola Lookman, I think he needs little introduction. Some 2 years ago, he was named African Player of the Year. It tells you of his pedigree. And already he's been baptized as regards the AFCON. He was at the previous edition, and together with Osimhen, they spearheaded Nigeria's drive all the way to the final, which unfortunately they lost to Ivory Coast. I think Nigeria's strength is in the individual brilliance. When these attackers come to the party and they combine powers, it's like Captain Planet. It's wonderful. And you at an instance, that is the interesting thing about Nigeria, though. At an instance, they play the game forwards. The attackers make you look like they are the team to beat in this competition. And the moment they concede possession and they have to defend, then you come to the realization that no, this is not a well-cooked team, because this Nigerian team lacks that balance. So yes, the strength is up front. But if you come to the middle and the defense, they really do have some serious problems that Eric Shell needs to deal with. Yesterday, when I arrived at the first train station, they call it Gar here. I spoke to a couple of Nigerians here. They were ecstatic about their starting their first game. Actually, one told me that until Nigeria plays, the AFCON hasn't really started, and I laughed. They were all very positive about the attack, but the only skepticism they expressed had to do with, one, their defense, two, for some reasons, they seem not to believe in Stanley Nwabali, because they think, yep, he made a grand entry into the Nigerian team, but in recent games that they've played, he's been a bit jittery, and the goals he's conceded, perhaps he could have done something about them. So, yes, Nigeria do not really have a well-cooked team. They have their issues, but when their star players decide to step onto the dance floor and do some wonderful moves, they do really look like a very, very good team. I only hope and pray that Eric Shell will be able to correct some of the issues that do crop up in their games in the subsequent matches. Against Tanzania, they were exposed, caught on the break. They struggled to find a shape to deal with the Tanzanian threat. And these were some of the fundamental issues that bedeviled them. And if I was right, you could not get a person to speak to, because at a point in time, everybody was just thinking about escaping the rain. And that is how severe it was. At a point in time, I checked from my phone the weather, and it was around 9 degrees, and it was still wet. It was raining. As it stands now, it's still raining. I wish I could just show you from the back camera. Just see the streets, very, very wet everywhere. So I think, yes, that is what happened. It would have been lovely if it was dry. If it is cold and dry, then you get more people to react to, because I believe many Nigerians would have loved to express their views about what they saw of the Super Green Eagles. A lot were not happy. And it feeds into the whole conversation about maybe it's game one, maybe they will get better. Because at the last AFCON, they were not that flamboyant from the start. But as and when Jose Pesero made some changes, he did some structural adjustments, and then it did work for them, and they went all the way to the final. So maybe it is more like this. Eric Shell will try and work things out and improve this Nigerian team as they go forward. But it wasn't a so good performance from them on match day one, but they got the result, and that is what matters. 3 points on the board, they are good to go.
Now let me bring in Yvonne again. And Yvonne, you caught up with the fans, and pre-game, post-game, I'm sure you caught up with a few fans. What are they saying? What have they been saying? And do they look optimistic of the chances of their team going forward based on what they watched?
Sporty FM.
Okay, I think I've lost Yvonne there. But Michael, let's talk about Senegal. And Senegal, well, maybe the opposition wasn't as you would expect, but they beat what was in front of them, and they could have scored 5, 6, 7. Senegal look like the real deal in the tournament so far, right?
Yeah, I think so far they've been the best team. not just because they won 3-0, but it's about the suave around their play. There is a certain swagger. They do the most complicated things in a simple manner that you are left wondering. Did they really do that? And I think it is years of consistency, and they look like the complete unit. From the goalkeeping department to the defense, midfield, attack, almost every unit is well knit together, and they look like the whole set. I think so far they are the most complete team. Yes, Morocco won. It was a fanfare, but there are issues with the Moroccan team and their defense. I don't really also trust their midfield that much. Again, I've seen Nigeria, like we talked about them, DRC. I've seen Egypt. Egypt were not so convincing. I think with Senegal is different. They are able to stamp their authority in the game they play in. And it was in the game against Botswana yesterday. It was just like that. They stamp the authority. They force you to play according to how they want you to, not how you want to play. And that is a mark of every great team. Because if they're able to affect the opponent in that way, it means that they can control the game, dominate the game, and then win the game. And that is what they did to the Botswana team. I believe clearly that Senegal has a complete unit. And it is not just about the starting 11. Players who also climb off the bench. And then the mentality. After the game yesterday, Idrissa Gana Gueye spoke during the mixed zone, and he said, yes, it is good that they won by 3-0, but when you meet teams like Botswana, where you are a domineering side, you would dominate them. You need to make it count and win more than the 3-0 they won. So there's a team that just won 3-0, kept a clean sheet, scored 3 goals. No team has scored 3 since the AFCON started. And just as a player in the setup, speaking in this manner, clearly they were not content with what they got. They still want to do more. I think Senegal is the team to be so far in this competition from the games that I've watched. And they look like a complete set. And I'm happy for Nicholas Jackson. He's not really had a good season. His issues with Chelsea, went to Bayern. He went with a lot of expectations. And I believe reality has not matched them. But he's been able to just move on, come to the AFCON. In his first game, he delivers a brace for the Senegalese national side. That is very, very positive. I will end by saying Senegal is the team to beat. It is unfortunate I don't speak French because I met a couple of Senegalese folks and we could not really communicate. Ça va, and then we were done. But they are the team to beat.
Well, Michael, let's talk about the final game. That was Tunisia versus Uganda. Tunisia won that game by 3-1. Sami Trabelsi and his men have got off to a good start in the competition so far. Take us to that game. What kind of game did Tunisia have? Did Uganda really, put up a stand test, or it was just a walk in the park for Tunisia and others?
I think Tunisia are your typical AFCON team. They know when to deliver a result during the African Cup of Nations. And I think it's embedded in their DNA. They know how to just pull some 1 or 2 together and do a job. But again, that aside, I think Sami Trabelsi has been able to comb around the world and find young, exciting Tunisian talents, refresh his path. Ever since he came on board, there were some interims. He had to come on board later. He's been able to select a young or a youthful core and then blend them with some of the experienced players so they can deliver. For instance, Achuri, who got 2 goals yesterday, he plays for FC Copenhagen in Denmark. He's been well integrated into this team. Former Manchester United player Hannibal Mejbri, also clearly one of those beneficiaries of this project that Tunisia is running. And the character they have forged right from AFCON 2019 to date, it helps them to calm the nerves, deliver when it matters. And I think Uganda were not ready. That is clearly what we saw. They were not ready. They looked to want to force their game. Uganda, typical Eastern African football, play with pace, do a lot of running with the ball, but they lack some incisiveness. And I think it is what hurts them. Tunisia, after getting the first goal, looked like they were never going to look back. And that is clearly what played out. It was a dominant performance from them, but is it enough to put them into the equation as one of the teams to beat in this competition, I dare say no, because I will still need to see more from them. This is Uganda, who basically have also ended a certain project and are starting something new, and they don't really have that kind of character. So yes, I want to give it to Tunisia for defeating Uganda, but I don't think it is a performance that demonstrates their readiness to be among the credible contenders for the AFCON trophy so far in this competition. But it was a good performance from them. Kudos to the Carthage girls.
Right. Michael, I'll get back to you in a bit. So we preview today's games. And so just hang in there for me. I'll get back to you in a bit. But Michael, Kelvin also is in studio with me. Kelvin, yesterday's games. I think you were in studio for that game between Senegal and Botswana. And so definitely you'll be the best person to do an assessment on that Senegal team.
Yeah.
I mean, that game you watched yesterday, what were the your key takeaways from that game?
Well, I think that it was a casual approach from them. They didn't force themselves to win that game. They went through casually, and Botswana did not provide that opposition you were expecting to test the Senegalese team. Senegal have a team who are so good, to the point that in every single position they have players who can play. Their weakest link seems to be that central defense, where Kalidou Koulibaly is. So you could see that Botswana wanted to plant through that space with Kebato. But unfortunately for him, every time that he did, there was cover for that is Senegal through Pape, who was also playing together with Idrissa Gana Gueye. Gana Gueye did not sweat in controlling that midfield. You look at Sadio Mane. Initially, they were trying to frustrate Senegal. So Mane, with his experience, knows how games can turn on the continent. So he made mention to, you could see him trying to whip up the energy and get the rest of the team along. But lo and behold, I still think that they did not give them that test, because Ismail Assar wasn't at his, best, or that sort of energy you want to see from him. Iliman Ndiaye, playing in England and playing in Africa, two different ball games. So you could understand he needs 1, 2, or 3 games to adjust to, how things can be for him when it comes to Africa football. But as a mark of a good team, they never deviated from their key principles. Even when Sadio Mane, Ismail Assar, Nicholas Jackson went off, and they had Mbaye and the likes coming on, they still adjusted. Sheriff Ndiaye and all, they still adjusted to the game plan. It looks more like they are going to use their wing backs, Crepin Diatta and then Idrissa a lot more times, because you could just see they wanted to just go through the left and the right and then just make that quick pass, a cutback, so that the strikers could latch on. Maybe Sadio Mane was more desperate for a goal, but Nicholas Jackson did his best. I think there's something improving about his game, and I think it's a rippling effect of playing with Harry Kane. His positioning was so good, especially for the first goal. And how he took it is a typical Harry Kane goal. He won't think twice about it. Once it comes, he gets himself in a good position. Bang, he scores. And I think the goal, that the scrappy finish was, a typical Nicholas Jackson goal. He wanted to take so many touches and he nearly lost that ball, but eventually he kept his composure and he managed to score. He's on a very good run. He played lots of games for Senegal, scoring 1, but in the last 7 games, he's managed to get on the score sheet or contributed goals and assists 7 times, which tells you that he's gradually adjusting to how Senegal play their game, and he's going to be a lethal weapon for them. But the goalkeeper did very well. 31-year-old. He looked too heavy for my liking. That is Foko from Botswana. They play in their league. Yeah. Most of the players in there. You could see it was heavy. You could see the packs. Yeah. You could see the packs, and even the shot wasn't fitting properly. It was quite interesting to see, but. He had sharp reflexes. It just gave memories of former Hearts-of-Oak goalkeeper Sani. And as much as he was heavy, his reflexes were sharp. And I think that credit to him for keeping his team, at least out of conceding a lot of goals. But Senegal were not even, for me, even at their grade C best. It got to a point they were walking through the game. It was more like a training session for them. And I'm sure even at training, they put more intensity than what we see. Because Idris Aganage did not put a sweat. He was virtually walking throughout the game.
He could have played another 90 minutes.
Thank you. And he was just okay.
Yeah.
And I think credit to Pape Thiaw. There are times managers, you need a coach who understands the dynamics of his team. When they were in the lead, all he did was, let me take my gentlemen off. Let me take my big guys off. He took off Sadio Mane. He took off Nicholas Jackson. He took off Eleman Ndiaye because he knows that the job was done. The more difficult games are ahead. So he's resting them. And I think all the players understood him that, yes, our coach understands what to do. And he knew exactly what, they were going to come about. So Senegal just put up a masterclass performance and they knew exactly what they were doing. And I love what they displayed. Hopefully, they're going to continue, but they're going to have better tests going forward. But for Botswana, did not provide that sort of test and competition you'd expect from it. If I was the Botswana coach, I'll play route one always to where Kalidou Koulibaly is. He's their weakest link. He's pace suspect and he gets into certain ragged tackles. Maybe Botswana did not have players with that experience. But going forward, if they meet teams and they understand Koulibaly, fine, he's experienced and all.
He could be exposed, right?
But he could be exposed.
But Michael, Kelvin, before I get to Michael, let's finish up with Nigeria. Quick thoughts on the game you watched, Nigeria-Tanzania.
Sporty FM.
They still struggle in the second half. And I think he's coaching. The coach is still struggling to put together this team. I don't know what is wrong. I don't know if you are playing against the likes of Wana Ali Samata and they are still struggling. It gives me lots to question about this Nigerian team. Fine, they might have won the game. Nigeria's greatest strength is in their attack, from midfield to attack. Ndidi, Alex Iwobi, and Iwobi has transformed from a winger to a more creative central midfielder. And then you look on the flanks where they have Ademola Lookman. Chukwueze has been on excellent form for Fulham, and Victor Osimhen, Akwa Adams for Sevilla, and then respectively. But they seem that there's something that is missing. Which players need to be dropped to make sure that the team has that fluid flow? That is what I think that the coach is struggling to find. Eric Schell is struggling to find which player should drop to the bench for who to survive and thrive in the team. It looked more like a circus for me because it got to a point where Lookman and Chukwueze were clashing in positions, areas that clearly they shouldn't be clashing. Akwa Adams, yes, he knew his level. He was just playing to suit himself. And then Victor Osimhen, I don't know, he's too desperate to make statements. He's too desperate to make statements. I don't understand why he cannot take his time when he picks up the ball, when he picks up the pass, to just make an effective shoot of the ball. He blasted a couple of chances away. And I'm like, you may not have your, eat this cake and then have it back always. It took Ademola Lookman with that brilliant finish to get back in there. And Nigeria's defense is still a suspect. Look at how that ball went through. And Stanley Nwabali, yes, he may be Nigeria's number one for a very long time, but he still gives me the vibes of Richard Ofori. He cannot grab the ball one time. He's always spilling something. He's always leaving a spillage. And if you meet teams where they have, foxes in the box, they will capitalize on it. They will know that you cannot pick shots on the first attempt. And once you drop it, you would have issues. But I think in all, it was a good comeback. The last time Nigeria played, they settled for a draw in their first AFCON game in Cote d'Ivoire, but they picked up the pieces. This time around, they managed to get the victory, and I think that is good enough. Hopefully, Eric Schell and the team will build on this, but I think that there are areas that they need to refine. And you could see Wilfred Ndidi wasn't happy at a point because it looked like the team was disjointed and they had to, doing a lot more covering in spaces where, on a regular or ideally they shouldn't have been forced to be making those errors. So, well, it's a good test for them. Hopefully, when you start slow, you look at your loose ends and then you make it better going forward. So I think, let's see what will happen in the next game. But this is a tournament. Be pragmatic as you can. Get your 3 points. Get to the next stage and you progress gradually.
Now let's get into today's games. The games we'll be playing today. And I know this game would interest you a lot. Algeria, Sudan. quick thoughts on this game before I get to Michael. Michael, you know why I'm interested in his thoughts on the Sudan Algeria game.
Yes, we have our Ghanaian brothers there. Coach Kwesi Appiah is there. Ignatius Osefoso is there. Eric Amponsa, the goalkeeper's trainer, is also there. And many will be looking at Sudan from a different angle. This is the Sudan who caused troubles. This is the Sudan who gave lots of problems, lots of worries to other teams, to other nations, prevented Ghana from qualifying for the AFCON, nearly gave Senegal and DR Congo a scare during the World Cup qualifiers. They went to the Arab Cup and they failed. Now they are going to be tested properly against the Desert Foxes. And let's not forget that these Desert Foxes in the last tournament couldn't really excel. In the last couple of tournaments, they've struggled. And they failed to qualify for the World Cup as well. Now, looking at this particular game, Kwesi Appiah knows that the entire Africa is watching him. He needs to put together the best of his teams. It's the reason why when they went for the Arab Cup, you could see that it was more like playing a second string team. Even those guys who were very much tired, he just wanted to rest the Team A players and come back into this one, brilliantly. The Algeria team, I don't really trust them, but they are always hungry. These North Africans are always hungry at tournaments. And I would just be hoping that Kwesi Appiah will put his tactical board right in front of the players in a manner in which they can understand his language, know the magnitude of the competition they are playing at, and get the best results from the game. So I tip at least a minimum a draw for Sudan. I know Algeria will come in strong. One thing is Algeria don't play like Tunisia. Tunisia are the haram ballist when it comes to African football. They played the most difficult. So yesterday you could see Steven Dese-Mukwala was struggling. But Algeria will open up, Egypt will open up, Morocco will open up for you to play. And that is why I think Sudan may have their strength and then, get something from this game. But I tip Kwesi Appiah to at least get a draw for a start.
Wow, Michael, let's get into this game. Algeria versus Sudan. Algeria definitely will come into this game with some of the big boys. There's Mahrez in that team. There's Mohamed Amora in that team. Mohamed Amora has been doing well for Wolfsburg since last season. Then there's still Ben Sebaini in this team. There's Benacer in this team. There's Ait Nouri, who plays for Wolves. He also joins the team. And there's Lucas Zidane. Some interesting names in there. Would Sudan have enough in their tank to be able to keep this very solid Algerian team at bay?
To deliver a performance they've never done or showed in their spell under Kwesi Appiah. I think Kwesi Appiah has mostly adopted a very conservative approach. He is trying to play to the strength of the Sudanese team. He knows that they are not a possession-dominant team, so they are very direct, and mostly they would have to sit deep and then catch teams on the break. So if they are going to play like that, it will suit Algeria. There was under Vladimir Petkovic, the Swiss coach who joined them. What he has brought, which is different from what they had endured under their former coaches, is the kind of maturity about their play, and also how they have learned to be patient and bide their time. If they meet some of these tough opponents who will sit deep and not allow them enough spaces to operate. So I think, yes, Algeria are a well-coached team now, and they are different from the typical ultra-offensive Algerian side. And I say this because I watched them during the World Cup qualifications, and there were games where opponents met them, and they were just on a mission to frustrate them. Algeria thought they matured into such games, and then they overpowered the opponent eventually. And yes, they do have a solid team. Lucas Zidane will likely be making his AFCON debut for them, the son of the French legend Zinedine Zidane. He will be making his debut. It is expected that Issa Mandi and also Rami Ben Sebaini will play in central defense. Ryan Ait Nouri, who joined Manchester City from Wolves, will also likely play as their left back. I think where they really have much strength has to do with their middle. Ismail Benassa, he's gone under the radar, but he's still there providing quality for them. And then he will play alongside Zerouki. And then watch out for this Algerian kid, Anis Ajimusa. He plays for Feyenoord. He's a brilliant young winger who has that quality to outwit any opponent that he meets. And he's the younger version of Riyad Mahrez. And Mahrez, with his experience, will also help. And then Ibrahim Maza, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen, will likely play behind Mohamed Amin Amoura. As you rightly mentioned, I watched Amoura play against Asante Koroko for ESFT, and he's been on an upward trajectory since. We went to Belgium for Royal Lyon Saint-Gilloise, then he transferred to the Bundesliga, and he's never looked back from then. He's been on the rise, and this will likely be his tournament. I think it is going to be a tournament where he announces to the rest of the continent that yes, he's ready to take on the mantle as Algeria's best attacker. Sudan don't really have the fanciful names. They have a team that is good enough to do a job per their standard. And I think the Algerian standard is above them. It would take a lot, or you ask a lot from Apia to try and get a result against Algeria. And in fact, this game and Morocco's game are the two sold-out encounters for match day one as regards the AFCON group games. This game has sold out, so I expect that the Algerian fans will troop into the stadium to watch the encounter. So yes, I'm tipping Algeria to win. They have the quality, they have a competent technical team, and they know how to grind or get a result in a game of this magnitude. But I'm expecting Sudan to make it a bit tricky for them. But all the same, whatever puzzle Kwesi presents to the Algerians, they will solve it and they'll get the match in the point.
Right, Michael. Let's look at the other game for tonight. It's a game that even before kickoff, you can't run away from the off the pitch issues that bedeviled this team before they came to the tournament, and that's the Cameroon-Gabon game. Now, Cameroon had all sorts of issues. There was talk about Mark Bryce possibly leaving, he refusing not to go, Pagu being the man Eto'o appointed to take this Cameroon team to the tournament. All of those things happened. Now, before this game, what have you picked up with regards to the Cameroon team, and if there's stability in camp in terms of all the pre-tournament, antics or drama that ensued? Now, after that, we then deal with the game itself, Cameroon-Gabon. What you make of this game, and where this game could be won or lost for either of the teams. So let's get into the off the field drama, and then we get into the game itself. What's going on with this Cameroonian team?
In the lead up to the competition for Cameroon is kind of reminiscent of their 2017 episode where they showed up under Hugo Bruce with a lot of negative stories about their team, about their campaign players deciding not to play, players who had been dropped for a certain lack of commitment. And they showed up at the audition with unfancied players, the likes of Christian Bassagor, Clinton Inge. They showed up at the 2017 showcase with some good management. They were able to win the Africa Cup of Nations against odds. Cameroon always know how to thrive in situations like this. But I think in this current episode, things have gone a bit extreme. And Pagu, the coach who's been installed by Samuel Eto'o, clearly looks like he's not a man on his own. He will be micromanaged by Eto'o. Eto'o will be taking the decisions, player selection, even to the extent that changes in the starting lineup and all that. It would actually have a very telling impact on what this coach does with this team. And that is why I fear for Cameroon. So that is where the difference is. If you compare to the 2017 case and then this recent case, it has not been so smooth in terms of their preparation. When Pagu went for his press conference, he was asked about Cameroon and how they will play. And he said, they train like they play and they will play like they train. I don't know if it was misquoted because he's talking French, but I think that everything that has happened clearly shows that he's a coach who has gotten the Cameroonian job at a very early stage in his career. And I doubt he has the competence to thrive in a competition of this magnitude. And Samuel Eto'o, if things do not go well, will be the one that Cameroonians will point fingers at that is responsible for the abysmal AFCON run. If they do make it, then he becomes a hero, sort of, because they will think he changed one or two things and then it has actually worked or it's favored for them. So it's not been a smooth preparation process for the Cameroonian side, but they are known to chaos. They thrive in moments like this. So let's hope that history will once again repeat itself, and Cameroon will show that they have the strength and the resilience to bounce back from very difficult situations. But it has not been pleasant at all. And I have not seen a lot of their fans go ecstatic about their team or speak in a very euphoric manner about their expectations of this Cameroonian team. I've not seen that. I've not heard that. They are kind of taking it on the low. Hopefully it pays off for them.
They come up against a Gabon team that seem to be on the rise as well. But for that slip in the playoffs, I think that Gabon had been one of the revelations of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. They did very well, but for that slip against Nigeria in extra time in the playoffs. Now, Thierry Muyume's men definitely, I know they have their work well cut out for them against one of Africa's powerhouses, Cameroon. Do you see Gabon taking advantage of all the things that have happened in the run-up to this competition to get one over Cameroon in tonight's game?
I think they will be strategic because I don't think they'll go all out because it's not a one-off game. If you try and then you give too much than you can, it kind of exposes you and then it makes you make mistakes. When you are punished and you lose this game, you lose 3 points. So in this game, albeit it is the opening game and teams will need to show up, deliver performance and get results, I think Gabon and Cameroon will be a bit strategic in their approach. I don't think they will go all out and have a go at each other. There will be that mutual respect that whatever Cameroon is capable of, Gabon is also capable of doing things. And that will lead these teams to be a bit more laid back, not attacked with that kind of verve you expect. And it will be one of those boring games, I think, in this competition. Cameroon will not attack Gabon as well. And Gabon will also not do the same because they want to maintain and see how far things go and then look out for the other matches in their group because after this, there is Ivory Coast and then there is Mozambique. And I think every team here that is seen as a favorite to qualify from this group will want to target Mozambique as a potential game that they get a 3-point from. So if Cameroon is getting a point of Gabon and they beat Mozambique, it gives them 4 points and that should be enough to qualify them to the next stage because third place teams will qualify. The same for Gabon. If they get a draw off Cameroon, if they fail to even win against Ivory Coast and they beat Mozambique, it gives them a chance in terms of qualification. So this is a game where strategy will prevail over individual talent and brilliance. I think the coaches will play this game and they will not make it really exciting.
Now, let's talk about one game that many expect to follow a similar trajectory to that of what we saw Senegal do to Botswana. Ivory Coast versus Mozambique. And Ivory Coast come into this competition on the back of a very good record in the World Cup qualifiers. And they come in as defending champions as well. And they come in with some very, very, very good players. You talk about Diallo, there's Sangari, there's Kessié, there's Kusunu, there's Conan, there's Due, there's Diomande. I mean, they come in with quite a squad that should send shivers down the spine of any team they come up against. Now they come up against Mozambique, who themselves are not your seasoned AFCON candidates. The last time we saw them at the AFCON, they did a job over the Black Stars of Ghana, though. But what kind of games should we expect? Ivory Coast versus Mozambique. Are we going to see Ivory Coast run around the Mozambicans as if they don't exist, or we are going to see Mozambique give them some competition in this game? Are we set for our first upset of the competition?
I doubt. After this session, I'm making a 6-hour journey to Marrakech to watch this game. I think Ivory Coast will start as a favorite, and what is on paper will play out in reality. What MSI has done after winning the AFCON is to look out for some excellent French talents of Ivorian descent and then integrate them into the team. So for today, we are hoping that Guela Due, who is the older brother of Desiree Due at PSG, will make his debut at the AFCON with his Ivorian side. He plays as a right back for Strasbourg, and he's been an excellent player for Strasbourg this season. And I expect that he will carry on with that form into the Ivorian team. He's already been playing for Ivory Coast, but this is the first time he plays at the African Cup of Nations. Again, Inao Ulai is an excellent midfielder. Trust me, if Frank Kessié and Ibrahim Sangare can guide him, then I think he'll be one of the revelations of this tournament. Frank Kessié has a tournament experience, Ibrahim Sangare the same. Ulai is making an entry into the AFCON for the very first time, but for talent, he has it in abundance. And an excellent midfielder. Trust me, just note this name down. Inao Ulai for Ivory Coast.
Okay.
I think he will be a revelation in this competition. And he's also one of the boys that Pai has introduced into this team. And then Amad Diallo, you mentioned him rightly. But also for Yan Diomande, he plays for Leipzig. He's been a stand-up performer for them this season. What Leipzig decided to do after their dismal run last season was to phase out the likes of Lois Openda, Javi Simons, move them on, and then introduce young boys into the team. And one beneficiary is Yan Diomande, and he has been scoring goals, assisting goals for fun, and has been helping the cause. So, yes, Ivory Coast might show up in this tournament without the Nicolas Pepe amid all the controversies around him, but they do have some exciting young talents who have the trust of the coach. And I think when players get this, it allows them to settle and deliver to their best. So yes, I'm expecting Ivory Coast to have a go at Mozambique. This is a game I'm tipping them to win. They will likely score multiple goals in this encounter. And I am hoping that they will get this win, build up momentum in their subsequent games, because the easiest game they can play in this group is against Mozambique. After this, there is Gabon, there is Cameroon. So if you don't win this, you put yourself in a very tricky situation. And what has happened with the AFCON defending champions in the previous editions? In 2017, when Cameroon won it, 2019, it was not so good for them. In 2019, when Algeria won it, in the next edition, it wasn't so good for them. In 2021, when Senegal won it, they showed up in the next edition and they failed to defend their title. Ivory Coast won it in the last edition. Will they go a step further? Will they do better than the previous defending champions? It remains to be seen. But I think today they have an opportunity to make a bold statement to not just the Ivorian people, but to the rest of Africa. Like we've seen from Senegal, we've seen from Morocco. Ivory Coast is also here in this country, not just to enjoy the status as a defending champion, but actually to prove the point that they have what it takes to defend their title. So yes, I'm expecting a big performance from them and also a good result in terms of win.
Now, Michael, let's wrap up with the first game of the day, Burkina Faso versus Equatorial Guinea. Burkina Faso, not as dominant in recent times like we've seen them in the past at AFCON. What should we expect from this game, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea? And who possibly wins this one for you?
I think it is going to be an exciting game, although there's not much fanfare about this match. If not for the Ivory Coast Mozambique game, I would actually have loved to watch this encounter. They've met previously at the African Cup of Nations. That was in 2015. Yes, when Equatorial Guinea hosted it, and it ended in a goalless draw. Burkina do have some good players, and Equatorial Guinea still have their old guys on board. And the interesting thing, check out for these names, Asue and Insue. Insue was a revelation at the, should I even use revelation? I think it was a surprise element.
Yeah, he's got lots of goals. Tournament.
Yeah. Exactly, when he top scored. After that, his career has kind of nosedived to a point in time that his involvement in the Equatorial Guinea team led them to be banned or suspended and docked points eventually during the World Cup qualification. But he's back in the side, but I don't think he's at the peak of his powers like he did in the last tournament. And then again, for Asue is a winger. So if Insue does not deliver, Asue will likely want to deliver for them to help their cause.
Yeah.
But I think Burkina do have some excellent players. Dango Ouattara, there is still Bertrand Traore, Ibrahim Blati Toure. They have a very decent side. And judging by their past tournament experiences, I think they've been able to shape up a certain character. And what their coach has done is also known as Traore. What he has done is that he has progressed some of the youth players who excel for Burkina into the senior team. So we are likely to see some young, exciting names also turn up for the Burkina Faso side. If any team will win this, I am tipping Burkina to be the one. They have a good team, a decent side. Equatorial Guinea, the age bracket and everything, the average age is around 29, 30 years. And I don't think they have what it takes to deliver with that kind of intensity in a tournament like this. So yes, I'm tipping Burkina to get the better of the Equatorial side. So Burkina win for me, and that will be another game that will be exciting. I think the only game that will not provide excitement, in my opinion, is the Cameroon-Gabon game. But the rest of the matches, Algeria, Sudan will be very good. Burkina Faso also playing against Equatorial Guinea will be good. And Ivory Coast for Mozambique will be exciting as well.
Right, Michael. Since you have a trip to Marrakech, let let go of you so you could set off on your 6-hour trip. We wish you all the best, and we wish you traveling mercies as well.
Thank you very much, Raymond, and greetings to all the guys.
Right, and Immortal says you are drinking something on the beach. What's that?
It is tea. It is tea.
Okay,
tea.
Right.
Tea, just tea.
Okay, so he was doubting the content of your glass.
It is just tea, mint leaves.
Oh, okay, right. Michael, have a good day, and we wish you all the best. That was Michael Asarbuedu joining us on the line there. This is still Sporty Breakfast, and you're live on Sporty 106.1 FM in Accra, 102.5 in Takoradi, and 91.3 in Kumasi. We'll get back onto the lines and catch up with Dr. Victor Ademola. He's in Morocco. He's a Nigerian sports journalist, and he'll be joining us in a bit. But before we do that, let me run you through the games to look forward to in today's games at the Africa Cup of Nations. There's Burkina Faso versus Equatorial Guinea at 12:30. There's Algeria versus Kwesi Appiah's Sudan at 3 p.m. And at 5:30, you have Ivory Coast versus Mozambique. And that game is going to be at 5:30. And at 8 p.m., you have Cameroon taking on Gabon. And all these games will be live on the Sporty Bet app. So all you need to do is to download the Sporty Bet app. And then you get to watch all the games for free. So that's how you can follow the Africa Cup of Nations tournament currently ongoing in Morocco. But let me welcome my guests. And I'm also joined by Coach Christopher Nimley as well. Okay, so we'll get into the conversation with my Nigerian friend, Dr. Victor Ademola. Dr. Victor Ademola, good morning to you and welcome to Sporty Breakfast.
Yeah, good morning. It's good to be on the show today.
Great. And Coach Christopher Nimley, Coach, good morning to you and welcome to Sporty Breakfast.
Good morning, my brother.
Great.
You should have kept Michael on the line. There's no way that thing in the cup is a tea. It can never be a tea. There's no way. What are they talking about? What was he trying to run away from? Immortal knew exactly what the thing is. How can that be tea? These guys,
Coach, good to have you.
It's very cold. It's very cold.
Yeah, it's very cold.
It's a hilarious weather. So people are using strategic means to warm themselves up.
Right.
Coach, if you are drinking the tea, by the time the wind blows 1-2, it's become cold. There's something that even when the wind blows, it still becomes hot. How can that be tea? You're not serious.
Coach, thank you very much for joining us on the show. But let me start with you, Victor. Yesterday, the Super Eagles were in action against Tanzania in a game that many expected the Super Eagles to win. But, the Super Eagles made hard work of it. Thanks to an Ademola goal, they still managed to pick maximum 3 points. Let me pick your thoughts on that game. From the Nigerian point of view, impressed with the performance of your team yesterday?
Well, not impressed, but at the same time, not surprised. You know, we are used to this sort of form from the Super Eagles. Remember, from the World Cup qualifiers, we struggled against teams like Zimbabwe. Not to say they are not good teams, but we struggled against teams like Lesotho. We could only get 4 wins in the group. And that also showed in our game against yesterday. I feel like the problem is that when teams sit back and soak the pressure, the Super Eagles fail to impress. And they almost ran away with it yesterday. They could have gotten a draw. if not for the beautiful goal by Ademola Lookman. In fact, I spoke to the coach of the side for Tanzania after the game, and he was saying that their approach in the second half worked, and if not for that brilliant goal for Ademola Lookman, probably would have been a different result.
When you look at the Super Eagles team, what doesn't seem to be working for the team, and if things have to work well for them, who are the players who should make things tick for that Super Eagles team?
I feel like for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, what we need now is players being direct. When they play games, they find it difficult to be clinical and to score goals. I know we have the likes of Victor Osimhen in the team. Some have also argued that we find it difficult to create chances for this sort of players. To the advantage, we have tall strikers. Maybe we need more crosses in so that they can just convert the way they do in the club side. And basically, in the first half, we wasted so many chances, and that's because the team were not direct in the game. Playing against countries like Tanzania, playing in the African Cup of Nations, you have to be clinical, especially when it comes to the latter stage of the competition. And this what separates big teams from average teams. So they have to work on that. The players after the game said that they are going to go back to the drawing board to look at what worked and what didn't work in this particular game against Tanzania. And hopefully they improve on the next game against Tunisia, who top the group now, and who have started with a good note against Uganda. So it's going to be a tough second game for Nigeria. But the solution for them is just to be direct in the subsequent games.
Now, when you look at your team and you look at the performance, many have said that, well, at the last tournament, Nigeria didn't start well, but they managed to make it to the finals of the competition. Do you get that feeling that this team could rise above all the sloppy starts or the mistakes they've made in yesterday's game and possibly make it all the way? What's the realistic target for you Nigerians out there?
Well, the target for the coaches is to get to the final. We got to the final the last time, even though we're not expecting to get to the final. But the target this time around is to get to the final. Can we get to the final? That's a very big question. I would say we can. We have the crop of players that can get to the final. Looking at the attacking lineup just alone, Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, Chukwueze, Modi Simon, Paul Onuachu is doing so well in Turkey right now. Siri Desas as well. So it's always a big headache to see who starts games for Nigeria. Some of the very star players might not get to play at the group stage, except maybe we do well against Tunisia in the next game. So I feel like the problem has been too many talents, but at the same time, they are yet to impress as a team. And that's where the problem has been with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We can go all the way, we can go far in this competition, but it feels like every time you expect the Super Eagles to do well, they don't impress you, and when you least expect them to, they impress. So yeah, that's just my thought about this. I feel like they will do well at this competition, but it has to be, they have to work and improve game by game. I remember yesterday evening, the legend for Nigeria, Yakubu Aigbeni, came to the press and spoke to the press, and he also said that sometimes teams don't start well at competitions, and also the first game at the AFCON is not always very easy. It's always very difficult, first game at the AFCON, but as you play together as a team, as you continue to progress, maybe the team bond increases, the team cohesion improves, and you can get in that competition mood and take it all the way. The group stage will also be different from the knockout stage entirely, so it depends on who you face. It's possible for you to win your group with 9 points and you just get knocked out by one of the best third place teams across the 6 groups. But fingers crossed, the plan is for them to improve slowly and gradually as the competition progresses, but you have to work on that defense. Considering against Tanzania yesterday, they considered a cheap goal in my opinion. If you want to go far, you have to be solid defensively as well as clinical attack. Now,
Doc, just hold on for me a bit. Let me bring in Coach Christopher Nimley, who would also have a say on the Nigerian team. So let's just stay with me whilst I bring in Coach Chris. Coach Chris, I'm sure yesterday you watched that game between Nigeria and Tanzania. What do you make of the Super Eagles team, and how far can they go in this competition based on what you've seen already?
Yeah. Good morning, and then good morning to my Nigerian friend. And I know that the people of Nigeria are very, very expectant, and they expect nothing less from the Super Eagles than winning the AFCON, especially when they didn't qualify for the World Cup in America, Canada, and Mexico. I did watch the game yesterday. To be very clear, it is still very early to draw an emphatic conclusion that says that they will win it. I don't think from what I saw yesterday, they can go on and win it if they don't improve. Because yesterday, that Tanzanian team, we all know, is not of the quality of some other teams in the tournament. If that Tanzanian team was a Moroccan team, was an Egyptian team, was an Ivorian team, was a Senegalese team, surely the Super Eagles would have been punished. Because there were moments in the game, several of them, defensively, I don't think the Super Eagles had a very compact shape. There were several opportunities for proper counter-attacking football by Tanzania, but they couldn't exploit that. One thing that is so enterprising about the Super Eagles is the fact that they've got proper attacking threats. If you've got Chukwueze, if you've got Ademola Lookman, if you've got Victor Osimhen, these three guys alone, we saw them in the previous AFCON. And when you've got players like Simons and Co on the bench who can come in and change the tide of the game, then you can quickly, easily accept the fact that going forward, they have genuine threat. Look, I would love to have Victor Osimhen in my team all day. I would love to have him because he's a striker who doesn't only work to score goals, but his work rate, his contribution makes everybody in and around him better. He's a proper focal point. You can play with him, you can play off him, you can use him as a decoy, and he makes sure that once he's around, the opposing defenders are always concerned about his presence. So that means that if the other players in and around him are on their game, they can only benefit from his presence. So I will always love to have Victor Osimhen in my team. But at the end of the day, going all the way to win the AFCON is not only about Victor Osimhen. That team, in my view, is not yet balanced. I think they are too easy to play through. And I'm very certain what I'm saying, my Nigerian friend would agree with me that they are too easy. Either it is the system of the coach or the players and in the midfield, they are not doing their job. Look, if you've got a player like Iwobi in midfield, what he brings is actual creativity and proper passing. But what he does not bring is that ball-winning instinct. That player who is able and capable to involve himself in the physical aspect of the game. And everything needs that. If you talk about Ndidi is not the same type of player that he once was 5, 6, 7 years ago because of injuries. But if Ndidi can be a bit tactical, meaning demarcate some area for himself, this will have to come from the coaching or from the coaches. He needs to demarcate an area for himself that makes sure that he contributes to the defensive organization of the team in the middle of the park. But yesterday, I saw him too much advanced. If he plays like that against the quality opposition, Nigeria will be slaughtered. I want to see them go far in the tournament. So I want to hold my emphatic conclusion by now. They will need to convince me in that second game, in that third game. One thing about the Super Eagles, naturally, most often than not, they tend not to start such competitions very well. But as the competition progresses and they get into that groove, players are now into the competition proper. Everybody believes that he or she can contribute as a block or as a unit. They stay very compact. If the coaching is proper and the commitment level is never in doubt, you cannot bet against them. I think of all the teams in the tournament, they are the one most motivated because of their inability or because of the fact that they couldn't qualify to the World Cup. They are in the tournament and they are hurting. The people of Nigeria are hurting. The question there is that what can they do to compensate for that abysmal performance by not qualifying to the World Cup? The Black Stars of Ghana were in a similar situation when we went to the World Cup in Brazil and we got embarrassed. Immediately, the playing body craved another opportunity to make amends. And when the 2015 AFCON presented itself, I still do maintain, but for luck, but for the fact that I think luck deserted the Black Stars, we should have won that AFCON in 2015. And I see something similar going through the spines, going through the brains, going through the mental fortitude of the Nigerian team. That is why they have to be able to control their adrenaline level to make sure they play as a unit and as a block. If they can do that, they were in the finals of the last edition.
Yeah.
It took a very brilliant finish from Allaire, an unexpected finish from Sebastian Allaire to win the cup for Cote d'Ivoire. So what I am saying is that from what I saw of them yesterday, going forward, they look excellent. Every Nigerian should go on his or her knees and pray that Victor Osimhen finds his scoring boot. Because even yesterday, there were chances that he got.
Yeah.
Normally, he will put those away. And if they know, if you go to Nigeria, they know, if Osimhen plays, they hardly lose games. I'm not saying if he plays, they don't, but they hardly lose games.
Yeah.
And they will need him to score a bit more because defensively, I think, because they are not solid at the back, they may be needing 2 or more goals per game to win the tournament. And that is not a good way of going on to win a major tournament like this. Because to win a major tournament like this, defensively, you need to be solid. And I didn't see that yesterday. Even look at the goal they conceded. It's as if they were not focused. They were caught unaware. They didn't track the run. And look at the pass. They were ball watching. And that player came from deep, slaughtered the ball in the back of the net. For a team that want to win the AFCON, you cannot be conceding such goal. Look, they were so very lucky yesterday that the Tanzanian team was still in their jubilant mood. They forgot that the game hadn't ended. And they should still compact, because the moment the Nigerian team passed the ball, within the space of 2-3 minutes, they restored their lead. And normally, coaches will tell you that teams are most vulnerable just after scoring. Look at the way the Tanzanian team jubilated after scoring that goal.
Yeah.
It was premature, and they paid the price for it. Nigeria will not get that from a team like Morocco, a team like Algeria, a team like Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal. They are the teams that they know are also in the tournament to win it. So, yes, they needed to win, which they find a way to do. You want to congratulate them for that. But they will be the first to admit that they will need to improve in their subsequent game to give themselves any chance whatsoever to get to the finals, and let alone think about what winning the cup.
Right. Let me wrap up with Dr. Victor Ademola, who's joining us all the way from Morocco. He's a Nigerian sports journalist. Now, Doc, Coach speaks about the defensive lineup of Nigeria. The defense doesn't seem to be in a good place at the moment. Would you say Coach Eric Shell is missing the services of Benjamin Fredericks and possibly your former captain, Trostekong?
Yes, I agree. I also agree with what the coach said. Remember when Nigeria got to the final at the last AFCON, we had 5 defenders. It was a 5-defense setup. And I felt like the coach understood that our defense was not so strong. And that helped us reach the final. You know, we're defeating team 1-0, 2 goals to 0. And with our clinical attack, that was just enough. I feel like we need to go back to that form this time around if we want to really do well at this competition, especially when we play bigger teams. Benjamin Fredericks, Ola, out due to injury. Ekong retired as well. These players, of course, they are greatly missed. Benjamin Fredericks just came into the team less than 6 months ago, and he has found a place, and he has been really, really solid. And the coach would like him. Just unfortunate that he could not be at this competition. So I feel like for the setup, maybe the coach should change his approach to the game and just focus on 5 defenders, and hope that our strikers are more clinical going forward. But I'm sure the coach will look at what went wrong in this game and adjust and improve going forward going into the next game. But Benjamin Fredericks, Ola, greatly missed. From my personal experience, from my view, I feel like maybe we just need to go back to 5 defenders. I know most people would not agree with me, but I feel like if we have that, maybe then we can avoid conceding goals and open the brilliance of our attackers to at least find a goal or 2, at the competition. Everybody has to track back, everybody has to defend. And at the same time, we have to be clinical if you're going to go far.
Right. And finally, in Nwabali, your goalkeeper, Stanley Nwabali, how confident are you in Nwabali in terms of keeping the post for you? Is he the safest pair of hands you have at the moment compared to Uzoho and the other goalkeeper?
yes, in the squad right now, Wambali, for me, the best goalkeeper we have. Also, but Maduka Okoye could have made this squad, but I felt like because maybe he was told that he's not going to start as a main goalkeeper, they also allow him to stay at his club side. Maduka Okoye would have brought real competition, in the number one position and the Super Eagles. So for now, Wambali still remains the number one. He has done well since joining the team, since claiming the top spot at the last AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire. So it just has to remain, but definitely he needs to also learn from his mistakes and learn how to maybe coordinate the defense better as the last man, before the net.
Right. Your expectations of today's games. I'm sure you are keeping one eye on all the other games that will be played at the tournament. Which games are you eyeing tonight? And what are expectations?
Oh, so for me, at the competition, my aim is just to follow Group C, follow the Super Eagles of Nigeria,
right,
and fingers crossed, follow them all the way to the final. But yeah, I've watched a couple of games. Today, I'm not so sure about today's fixture, but the plan for me is just once it's time, I turn on my TV and I watch.
So let me take you through a few of the games. Defending champions Ivory Coast will play against Mozambique. Then there's Algeria coming up against Sudan. There's Cameroon versus Gabon. And then there's Burkina Faso versus Equatorial Guinea. These are the games we are looking forward to playing tonight.
Yeah, so definitely Cameroon, Gabon will be one game I want to watch. I also want to watch the defending champion play. Gabon, because we faced Gabon in the CAF playoff. Yeah. And I also want to see with the news we'll be hearing from the camp of the Cameroonian team. Let's see what they have to bring, in the opening game at this competition.
Right.
So I'll be looking forward to both games.
Sure.
Actually.
Right. Dr. Victor Ademola, let me say a big thank you to you for joining us on the show this morning. It's been a pleasure having you. And we wish you and the Super Eagles the best of luck in the Africa Cup of Nations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Great. That was Nigerian sports journalist Dr. Victor Ademola joining us from Morocco. He's been following the Super Eagles. He's been following Group C, and he was sharing his thoughts with us on what we watched yesterday. Coach Christopher Nimley is on the line with me. He's here in Ghana with me, and I haven't finished business with Coach Christopher Nimley, so we'll sort that out after the show. But Coach, yesterday we saw Senegal in action against Botswana. It was almost like a walk in the park for Senegal. Do they look like the real deal in this year's competition?
Look, without a doubt, they are one of the possible winners. If I'm asked, I think I was on another radio station and I was asked, who do I think, or which country do I think will win the tournament? I say for the fact that Morocco is the host nation and they really do want to win this tournament for their second time in their history, I will go for the Moroccans first. But apart from the Moroccans, I think Senegal has a solid team to stand up to every other opposition in the tournament. And I will say that they are my second pick to go on and win this tournament because everything about them is solid. What makes them tick? Their coaching is excellent, number one. Two, they have a blend of proper youth and proper experience. And the balance of their team is absolutely superb. Look at the quality they've got on the bench. They can afford to bring out Sadio Mane. Whoever comes in is top-notch. Ndiaye, come and sit down. The next person is top-notch. Nicola Jackson, come and rest. The next person is top-notch. Ismail Assar, come and rest. The next person is absolutely top-notch. The man is sport for choice. So all he can do is relax and make sure he picks the right players per game, per the opposition in front of him. Nobody here was surprised. Were you surprised that they walloped Botswana 3-0? No, I wasn't surprised. No. It could have been more. It speaks volumes of the quality and the consistency they've brought to their game. I'm very sure they will look at what happened in Cote d'Ivoire, and they were very, very disappointed. Don't forget, prior to what happened in Cote d'Ivoire, they had played in back-to-back finals. They lost one, they won one. And they came to Cote d'Ivoire thinking that they would stamp their authority on the tournament again, and it didn't happen for them. So if you look at this, in my view, will be Sadio Mane's most effective AFCON. Koulibaly, the same. They've got a solid goalkeeper in Mendy. You see, everything that you will need to have in a major tournament like this to give yourself every proper chance of winning it. They've got it. Their right back is good, their left back is good, their center back, their goalkeeper in midfield, Ghana Gay, the ball aside from Tottenham. They've got quality everywhere on the pitch. So for them, I'm not sure they are the sort of team you want to play in the tournament, apart from meeting them in the final. If I'm the coach of those teams, I'll look at the schedule and I say, look, in trying to avoid the host nation, this guys is one of the things I want to avoid. Because on their day, they can take up any opposition. They can rub shoulders with anybody. On their day, they are very capable. Their players have got what is described as proper temperament. Their temperament per game is absolutely brilliant. And their coach is very relaxed, going about his business at the very topmost level. Something that I really do credit the people of Senegal for. From Aliou Cissé to another Senegalese, and the standard still remains the same, if not better. You want to clap for them. You want to acknowledge them in whatever they do when it comes to their football. So I wasn't surprised at all. And like I said, they are the team you want to avoid. As for those in the group stages, they can't avoid them. But as the tournament progresses into the knockout stages, you want to look at these guys and say, no, I think it will be too early playing them in the second round, a bit too early playing them in the quarterfinals. Maybe if the semifinals comes and the final beckons and that is ahead of you, and they are the team you have to play, then you strategize and go and match them boot for boot. But for now, I think if you take off the host nation, this is the guy you want. This is the team you want to avoid in this current tournament, my brother.
Now, let's talk about today's games. Let's quickly preview some of the games that will be played today. Now, today you have Algeria playing Sudan. And there's a lot of Ghanaian interest in this game because of James Kwesi Appiah. He comes up against Vladimir Petkovic on the other side for Algeria as they seek to begin their campaign on a good note. Now, we know this Algerian team. They come with some star power. There's Mahrez in there. There's Benacer. There's Ben Sebaini. There's Ait Nouri. There's Amora. And, of course, Lucas Zidane, who's decided to play for Algeria. All of these guys are in the fold for Algeria with a very good coach in Vladimir Petkovic. What are the chances of Sudan in this one? Can James Kwesi Appiah do what he did to the Black Stars a few months ago to the Desert Foxes of Algeria?
You know what? I'm one of those people who believe that Kwesi has gotten better with years of coaching at the top level. I'm one of those people who sincerely believe so. So, yes, the Algerians, in terms of player quality, man for man, has got better players than Kwesi has got at Sudan. But one thing that they come with, because majority of the team or of the players are locally based, Kwesi tend to work with them more. He spent more times with them. And if you are playing against a team like that, you have to be very, very careful. They will not be afraid of the Algerians because, after all, they are all North Africans. They fancy themselves against the Algerians. Admit the Algerians are favorite per the quality they've got and per the exposure of their players. But the question is, Sudan will run harder. Sudan will show better commitment. Sudan will want to put in that extra hard work. And Sudan will want to believe that they are a better unit, they are a better block of players put together to repel whatever the Algerians will throw at them. These are the ammunitions that Sudan will be going with into the tournament, into this game with Algeria. And the fact that it's more or less a local derby. You don't want to write them off. Algeria, yes, are favorite. You've mentioned their star players. Mahrez, yes, very experienced. He's still doing the job in Saudi. But I don't think he's got the legs that we got used to some few years back when he led them to win the tournament. But he's so very influential. His passing range are absolutely brilliant. But at the end of the day, for Algeria, in my view, to win this game, they must be ready to run harder. They must be ready to cover the most distance. And they must be ready to match the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation of the Sudanese team. Because Sudan, if they were to lose this, there's no storytelling there. But if they were to beat Algeria, the story will be told. The Algerians team, you don't like to trust them too much when it comes to the AFCON. I think they've won the tournament only twice in recent times, and when they won it in 1990 with Robert Mager and co. They don't have a proper AFCON pedigree. The yes is better than Sudan, I admit. The coaching, the Algerian coach, Akwesi Appiah, I think everybody should sit and watch what Akwesi will do. Because one thing that I've always liked about Akwesi Appiah is the fact that he tends to respect his opponent, and he tends to spend quality time in mapping out strategy to undo the strength of his opponent. We saw it with the World Cup in 2014. Akwesi was the only coach who stood up to that German coach who eventually won the tournament. He matched him boot for boot, and at the end of the day, that game went down in history as the best, most competitive game in the tournament in 2014. So I'm very sure that the Algerian coach will look at Akwesi's record and Akwesi's pedigree, that this is a coach I cannot overlook. So look, I'm not going to miss a second of that game because I want to see tactically what the two coaches will put on display. I admit, and I'll be the first to say, that the Algerians will start as favorite. But Ray, wait and see. If they are not committed to the cause, like I've said, wait and see that Akwesi and his boys are very capable of causing an upset. Maybe this could be the very first upset of the tournament so far, my brother.
Right. Coach, let's quickly look at the game between Ivory Coast and Mozambique. Definitely, Ivory Coast start as favorites. Defending champions, are we going to see them go all the way in this competition? And what kind of games should we expect from them against Mozambique?
Do you know what? Ghana is not in the tournament, so for the Ivorians to win it, they will have to go and bring Ghana back, because it's like anytime they've won the tournament, we have contributed to them winning the tournament. In 92, when they won it, we were their victim. In 2015, when they won it, we were their victim. In last year, when they won it, we just had to...
We gave them a pass.
Yes, we gave them the pass. A pass that some of us has never understood up to now. So now that the Black Stars are not in the tournament, I'm a bit skeptical, but that is just by the way.
Yeah.
But look, they've got a formidable team. They've got a good team. They've got a coach who has grown in stature and in the coaching profession. Nobody believed in him, but the people of Cote d'Ivoire believed in him. And when he launched himself in the middle of the last tournament, we saw tactically the sort of things he did. His substitutions were brilliant. His man management, because there were times that he needed to ask some of the experienced players to go on the bench to introduce some of the young ones. And they accepted it in the interest of the country, and the young ones delivered. This time around, they are not playing in front of their fans. They contributed immensely to them winning the tournament. But they are one of Africa's most consistent team in the past 2 to 3 years. So you want to look at them and say, look, this team, I don't think they will defend the tournament. I don't think they will defend their trophy. But I think a minimum of a semi-final bet is what I give to the Ivorians. And it starts today. I expect them to not to overly win comfortably, but to grab the 3 maximum points today and then to set the tone for whatever they will offer in the tournament going forward, my brother.
Right. And, Coach, let's look at Cameroon versus Gabon. Cameroon, with all their off-the-pitch issues, have possibly put all of that aside and are focused on having a go at this tournament and see where they can finish. Gabon as well, they had a very decent qualification round in the World Cup qualifiers. Unfortunately, they couldn't come to the party in extra time against Nigeria. What kind of games do we expect from these two teams? One an informed team and one team that is struggling off the pitch with issues of coaching and management.
If there's any team in the tournament I want to get voted out of the tournament immediately, is the Cameroonian team. They are so strong a footballing nation, such that when you hear the sort of mismanagement and the sort of disunity in their camp, you don't want to have a second look at them.
Yeah.
They've got quality players. Somebody thinks that because he's the boss, he can run the show. He sacked the man without any justification. Influence the selection of the coach. These are things that, by my principle, I hate. One of my biggest problems with Keto Kriku running Ghana football is the fact that he has not retracted on being influential when it comes to selecting players in our national team. So if somebody is doing so elsewhere, you know my stand on the person. So if there's any team I want and prefer to get booted out of the tournament, it's Samuel Eto's Cameroon team. No wonder they failed to qualify for the World Cup. Consistently, persistently interfering with coach's selection. These are things you have to, if you think you've played the game. No, not he thinks. He played the game to the highest level, one of the best African has produced. So he's expected to know better. He's expected to do things right. Up to today, he begrudged Pep Guardiola from the way he thinks Guardiola treated him. And you go and manage your country's football, and you are doing worse than was done to you. To be honest with you, I don't want to see I don't even want to see the Cameroon. So for this match, I'm all for Gabon. I hope that Gabon goes in there and show the form that they've shown of late. I think if you look at the teams that were very unlucky not to have made it to the World Cup, Gabon and Burkina Faso, in my view, were the two very unlucky teams. At least one of them should have gone to the World Cup. Nigeria shouldn't have been involved in that playoff. It should have been one of these guys, Burkina Faso, I think. But having said that, they've got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. The Gabon team is a very experienced team. They have experience with some good youth guys in there. Again, from a Manchester United, I want Brian Mbeumo back in England as quickly as possible. So I want them booted out of the tournament. I don't know, but I don't like the way, look, they are a footballing nation I admire. But if you look at the way the football is being done in their country, if you go to their camp, it's chaotic. It's chaotic. Players not ready to listen, players not showing proper commitment because they felt that this man should be here, this man is not here, and Samuel Eto'o is doing things that he wouldn't have accepted when he was a player. So yes, I expect the more unified team, the team that is more of a unit, the team that is more properly being coached, the team that has been coached by a particular man for a sustained period of time to show their class. A new coach is taking the team to the AFCON. I'm talking about Cameroon. How often has he worked with the team? Nobody knows. Very small. Is he better than the one that got sacked? We'll all wait and see. So I cannot comment on them properly because I don't know what they offer, because they are going to be coached by a completely new coach whom I'm yet to watch coach them at this level. So I think because there's more calm and the Gabonese team know what their coach expects of them, and they have listened to him for much more time, they've worked with him for a considerable number of time, they have a better chance of upsetting Cameroon today, my brother.
Right. Coach, the coach of Cameroon is David Pagu, and he says he plays total football. He says he plays total football. So we'll see how things pan out for him. But Coach, your quick thoughts on the developing story on Antoine Semenyo. And according to reports, the player is very interested in making a switch from Bournemouth to Manchester City and not Manchester United or Chelsea. Now, if he makes that move, if that move is completed in the next few days, would you say that would be a good? How would you rate that move in terms of how successful or how good a move it would be for Antoine Semenyo? Would it be a good move if it goes through?
You see, no player apart from Erling Haaland commands a regular starting position at Manchester City. For a player like Semenyo, he gets better with more playing time. When he goes there, he's going to be competing with the likes of Foden, with the likes of Doku, with the likes of Cherki, with the likes of Savin. There are a lot of players that he's going to be competing with. I hope his people will look at that and get them to take the best decision. It's an honor to go and be coached by Pep Guardiola. Don't get me wrong, it's an honor. But for me, as a Ghanaian, I want him to go to a team that would guarantee that he plays regularly and get his name out there as one of the most consistent players in the league. Will he get that at Man City? I doubt. That is my worry.
Yeah.
So I was looking at a Chelsea or a Manchester United, where he goes and the slightest push, he gets into the... Look, even Mamouche, who is not a natural number 9, who should be playing in, is struggling to get into the Manchester City team. Agreed?
Yeah, that's true.
That is emphatic. Look, I'm not happy that he's chosen to join Manchester City. On one grounds, I think his playing time will be limited. He may be used. Today he plays, tomorrow he plays, the next moment he's on the bench, he comes in and plays, he's on the bench. I don't want that for him. Because from the way he plays, if he's not playing regularly, he's going to struggle to make a name for himself. At Bournemouth, why have we seen him to be so good? Because he's one of the first names on the team sheet. So he's a player that gets better with rhythm. How do you get your rhythm? It's when you play regularly.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself in a team where no position, look, the guys from midfield to the attack, there's nobody there who has a certain starting 11. And the degree or the level of competition is so huge that, and the expectation is big. Maybe he thinks he can handle that. As a Ghanaian, if he goes there, I will pray he's able to handle that and he's able to stamp his authority. But my brother, unless you don't want to be honest or you don't want to be fair to the issue, when he gets there and he doesn't put up the... Don't forget, until he scored his recent 2 goals, he went for close to 2 months without scoring.
Yeah, that's correct.
He's not technically gifted. His is more about power and speed. This Man City team, they don't play like that, do they?
No, they are technically gifted players.
They are a technical team. And I don't see him flourishing in the technical team. Because he himself, he's not overly technical. He's more of a speed power. So if you go to a team like Chelsea, they are more of a quick transition speed team power. Man United under Ruben Amorim, the same. The Pep is more of a controlled, let's suffocate the opponent in their half. Let's play within the intricate spaces. Let's see. Semenyo doesn't play his football like that. That is my genuine opinion. You know football, and I know you understand exactly what I'm saying.
I agree with you.
So in terms of the style, I'm not sure the Man City style will favor him because Man City hardly sits back. They hardly run. They don't run that much because they suffocate the opponent with their possessive play. So always, most of the teams will come and sit back. When you sit back, Semenyo will struggle. When you open up and he sees the gap, that is where he explodes.
Yeah.
That is where he explodes. So I don't know. Maybe if I get a chance to talk to him, I'll tell him, look, young man, it's an honor to be coached by Pep Guardiola. But your style will not fit into that chemistry. The Man City chemistry is not the sort of chemistry that you can go in and do your reaction and get a proper end product. Go somewhere where the reaction, the sort of chemistry that goes on there suits your reaction. And once you get in there, you make a name for yourself. So yes, maybe he's chosen, or from the news that are coming up is that he preferred Man City over Man United and Chelsea. But I think the level of competition that he will face and the style which doesn't favor him, I don't see him flourishing there. I pray he does. But if he doesn't flourish, I will not be surprised at all, my brother.
Right. Coach Christopher Nimley, a big thank you to you for joining us on the show this morning.
No,
Yes,
no, you cannot. No, you cannot say thank you like that.
Oh, Coach.
No, I'm going to get in trouble.
Coach, I was a bit under the weather. So if you noticed, I wasn't here on Monday. I was a bit under the weather.
Because sometimes I hear him and be anu.
What's up behind the scenes?
Okay, call you enu.
I'll call you right after the show, Coach.
God God bless you, my brother.
Right, God bless you too. Right, and that was Coach Christopher Nimley. You don't want to get into trouble with Coach. Coach Christopher Nimley sharing his thoughts on the games to look forward to today. But let me remind you that today we'll be bringing you our watch along. Later in the day, we'll bring you the game between Algeria and Sudan and Cameroon versus Gabon. So from 5:30, we'll start our watch along. So at 3 p.m., we'll bring you the game between Algeria and Sudan. And then at 8 p.m., we'll bring you the game between Gabon and Cameroon. So these are the games I will be watching together. Our watch along would cover later on Sporty FM. Well, this is what, we draw the curtain down on today's edition of the show. A big thank you to the entire production team. Immortal Ejakwa Champo, Janet Nanekwe Amankwa, Yusuf Desaja Isa, Fidelis Nchieje, David Kofite, Emmanuel Ayamga, Angela Mensah, Kelvin Owusu-Antah, the entire technical team, Biggie, Yeyo, Trish, Douglas, Jonathan, Nathan Kwao, also providing good support to us. He's been behind the scenes providing lots of support to the entire production team. And our team lead, Gary L. Smith, as well. He's been doing all the work behind the scenes. A big thank you to the entire team. This has been another interesting edition of Sporty Breakfast. Our programming continues. At 12, we bring you the news. At 12:30, we bring you Sporty Blog. At 4 p.m., we bring you... at 3 p.m., we bring you our watch along Algeria versus Sudan. At 7 p.m., we'll start off with European nights, and then we'll switch to bring you the watch along of that game between Cameroon and Gabon. And then later in the night, we'll bring you Ball Up Top, our exclusive NFL and NBA show. In between time, we'll bring you lots of podcasts and lots of sporty stories. Tomorrow, 25th of December, Christmas Day, we'll not be here. Yes, Sporty Breakfast will not come your way tomorrow, but we'll be back on the 26th. So enjoy your Christmas. It's Merry Christmas to you all our listeners out there. And on Sporty Plug today, Immortal says he has a lot of odds for you. He wants you to cash out big for Christmas. So Immortal says he has a Christmas gift for all the listeners, all our listeners on Sporty Plug today. So he's going to drop a code. That should make everybody rich as we get into Christmas. But it's Merry Christmas to you all from the entire Sporty FM team. It's been a pleasure having you join us all year. And we promise to give you nothing but the best as the year comes to an end, and also as we get into the new year. My name is Raymond Nyamador, and God willing, we'll be back on Friday morning with another interesting edition of Ghana's #1 sports morning show, Sporty Breakfast. And Sporty FM is live in Accra on 106.1 FM, live in Tak Radio on 102.5, and live in Kumasi on 91.3. Sporty FM, we are the voice of sport.
Christmas from your favorite radio station,
Sporty FM.
Give the Lord a shout!